In the 17th century Deccan, warfare was a simple numbers game. The Mughal Empire and Adil Shahi Sultanate relied on massive columns of heavy cavalry and elephants. Whoever brought the most weight usually won. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj viewed this landscape through a different lens. He envisioned a sovereign state called Hindavi Swarajya, but to achieve it, he had to operate with a fraction of the funding and manpower of his neighbors. Surviving against these giants required a complete rejection of the existing rules of combat. He didn't just need to fight better, he needed to rewrite the logic of the battlefield. The severity of his disadvantage was proven in the summer of 1660. Shivaji and a small band of troops were pinned inside Panhala fort, besieged by Adil Shahi forces. The escape plan was a mission of extreme physical endurance. 600 Maratha soldiers had to slip out at night and cover 60 kilometers of broken country on foot, while 10,000 Bijapuri cavalry were in hot pursuit. Success in this 60-kilometer dash depended on specific prerequisites: total stealth, the stamina to move while bearing arms, and the ability to fight through a second enemy encirclement at the finish line. Shivaji called his system Ganimi Kava, guerrilla warfare. It was a doctrine that prioritized agility over armor and surprise over direct confrontation. He weaponized the geography of the Western Ghats. These mountain valleys and forested passes served as a force multiplier, turning the environment into a trap that neutralized the mobility of heavy imperial armies. His cavalry was light and highly mobile. They specialized in hit-and-run raids, striking enemy supply lines and looting treasuries before vanishing into the hills, leaving the larger, slower armies demoralized and reactive. Shivaji utilized his network of over 300 forts as active offensive bases. These stone strongholds provided secure storage for arms and grain, acting as high-altitude launch pads for sudden strikes into enemy territory. By mastering this terrain, Shivaji converted the enemy's massive size into a fatal vulnerability, forcing them to fight on ground they couldn't control. This decentralized style of warfare only works if the troops are exceptionally disciplined. Without a rigid internal structure, guerrilla groups often collapse into uncoordinated bands. Shivaji enforced a revolutionary code of conduct. Salaries were paid in cash or kind directly from state granaries to eliminate the need for looting, and his soldiers were strictly prohibited from harassing non-combatants. His fort administration relied on unique checks and balances. Every outpost was commanded by 3 equal-ranking officers: a Havildar, a Sabnis, and a Karkanis. The Havildar controlled gates, the Sabnis managed accounts, and the Karkanis kept stores. Together, no single officer could surrender the fort. Shivaji effectively neutralized the standard Mughal tactic of buying off commanders by replacing solitary authority with a shared institutional loyalty. As his system matured, Shivaji realized that land-based sovereignty was incomplete without control over the sea. This led him to build the first native Indian naval force of the era. Defending the Konkan coast was a geographic necessity to protect against British and Portuguese empires. His navy utilized small, fast ships called garabs. Like his cavalry in the mountains, these vessels used shallow coastal waters to outmaneuver the massive, deep-draft galleons of the European fleets. The underlying principle of his war machine scaled perfectly, whether in a mountain pass or on the open ocean. Agility and terrain mastery outweighed raw numbers. Back at Panhala, the escape relied on a high-stakes deception. A barber named Shiva Kashi, who physically resembled the king, volunteered to act as a decoy, buying Shivaji's main force the hours they needed to reach the mountains. At a narrow pass called Godkind, 300 soldiers under Baji Prabhu Deshpande stood their ground. They held back a vastly superior Bijapuri force for 5 hours under torrential rains, waiting for the signal that Shivaji had reached safety. Holding that ravine required every component of Shivaji's system to work under extreme pressure: decentralized command, physical endurance, and absolute institutional trust. The troops who held the pass didn't fight for a ruler out of fear. They sacrificed themselves for a functioning system they believed was worth defending. These asymmetric tactics successfully stalled Mughal expansion in the Deccan. effectively fracturing the imperial expectation that war could be won through centralization and sheer volume. This wasn't just a local victory. It ensured the survival of the state and provided the foundation for the Maratha Empire that would eventually dominate the subcontinent. Because these campaigns proved that a smaller force could dismantle an imperial army by weaponizing terrain and local intelligence, they remain a foundational case study for modern Indian military academies. Shivaji's genius was not only in winning battles, but in engineering an institutional blueprint for asymmetric war that proved more durable than the empires he challenged.